Greetings, my fellow free-to-load software thinkers. This is LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida. And today's date, Friday, August 10th, 2018. So, let us begin. Greetings out there, once again. And just to let you know again, my name is Craig, and transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida. I like to repeat myself at times. Well, just to inform you, I'm at Stash, located at 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue, along the beautiful district called Himmershey in Fort Lauderdale, which is adjacent with Revolution Live and America's Backyard. Cool little coffee den bar, 1920s style atmosphere, but a real cool facility, I would say. And they let me do my show here frequently, so I thank them for that. Well, today I'm going to be addressing some interesting stuff. And this one just came out today from the National Security Archive. And this one's entitled, Gina Haspel, CIA Torture Cables Declassified. Yes, the one that President Trump appointed? Absolutely. The pros and cons, I would say. Hopefully all you Trump worshippers will be paying attention too, because what is happening can affect all of us, regardless of your belief system. So, as it reads, National Security Archive wins FOIA lawsuit for Thailand black site reports. Haspel describing extended sessions for physical violence and waterboarding. CIA cables details. Contract psychologists Mitchell and Jensen working for Haspel. It says here current CIA director Gina Haspel described graphic artists of deliberate physical torture, including the waterboarding of suspected Al-Qaeda terrorists under her supervision when she was chief of base as a CIA black site in Thailand in 2002. According to declassified CIA cables, most of which she wrote or authorized, obtained National Security Archive through the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit and posted on the web today. Haspel cables detail conditions the public has only been in the infamous Abu Ghraib. Photographs from Iraq of detainees hooded and shackled, forced nudity, wall slamming, and box confinement, as well as enhanced techniques never photographed, such as a simulated drowning of suspects on the waterboard. Waterboarding is a war crime under both U.S. and international law, dating back to U.S. prosecution of Japanese soldiers for torturing U.S. POWs during World War II. So, the whole thing is a lot of double speak, double standing, could we say. Although the CIA redacted Haspel, named of those of the CIA contract psychologists James Mitchell and Bruce Jensen, who administered the waterboard, other classified documents, including the 2004 CIA Inspector General report and public statements, confirmed their leadership of the torture of alleged terrorist Abid al-Rahman al-Nashiri at the black site between November 15th and December 4th, 2002. Release of Gina Haspel's torture cable shows the power of the Freedom of Information Act to bring accountability even to the highest levels of the CIA, said Archive Director Tom Blanton, who first identified the Haspel cables from a footnote, which is 336 on page 67. I'm not going to go through this whole thing in its entirety in good faith. However, I can see everyone take the initiative on checking this out yourselves, but the site will be on my page for sure, because I've read a lot of other information pertaining to this, and her admitting about she has this waterboarding fetish. And I'm just wondering if she ever went on it herself. So continue on here in the Senate Intelligence Committee torture report declassified in 2014. The archive filed its FOIA request for the Haspel cables on April 16, 2018, after she was nominated by President Trump to be CIA director. Despite the clear public interest in the documents, CIA denied the archive's request for expedited processing, and the archive went to court on April 27th. The U.S. Senate confirmed Haspel as CIA director on May 17th by a vote of 54 to 45 on the basis of a record amassed almost exclusively closed hearings with no declassification or public release of information even remotely approaching that of previous CIA nominees. How special, exceptional. They can do it, but you can't. Exactly. Exceptionalism. Keep the Abraham Lincoln legacy going. Dave Sobel, FOIA expert and former archive counsel, drafted and filed the initial archive complaint in federal court, and the archive's pro bono counsel, Peter Caranja and Lisa Zeigerman of the law firm David Wright Termaine, took on the task of negotiating with the U.S. Attorney's Office over release of the documents. In addition, in the work of Sobel, Caranja, and Zeigerman, Blanton credited two other lawsuits with paving the way for release of the Haspel cables. The civil lawsuit Salim versus Mitchell, brought by the ACLU against the CIA contract psychologists who were the architects of torture, forced the CIA to search and review as many as 24,000 documents in the massive database used by the Senate Intelligence Committee staff in the writing of their report. The FOIA lawsuit by freelance journalist Daniel DeFrea then compelled key documents, including 5 Haspel cables, included in this posting, even after the August 2017 settlement in the Salmon-Mitchell case. The release of Haspel's cables featured extensive redactions by the CIA, including their dates, although those can be ascertained from the declassified CIA Inspector General's report, among other sources, and the most of the information results from the torture, although they had been summarized by the Senate Intelligence Committee report, and the 2 Haspel cables admit failure to produce actionable intelligence. The biggest mystery in the released cables is whether Gina Haspel wrote cable 11,359 from December 1st, 2002, which is used remarkably vivid language to describe the torture sessions. The interrogator strode cat-like into well-lit confines of the cell at 0902 hours, redacted, deftly removed the subject's black hood with a swipe pause, and in a deep measured voice said that subject, having calmed down after his stage run-in with his hulking, heavily muscled guards the previous day, should reveal what subject has done to vex his guards unto the point of rage. So I'm gonna some links on here. One of the links I'm gonna check out here is by, let's just check this one here from the Thailand Black site. See what they have to say. Ooh, okay. I gotta do a few things first, so bear with me. Very interesting stuff, and this is why you remember, when it comes to government, you gotta really look at the bigger picture. It's really disheartening when should be nominated and all that. And don't get me wrong, there's some good people in the Central Intelligence Agency. However, the ones who started it were like, I would say, many will claim that they're from the Nazi Germany, okay, from Operation Paperclip. There's an interesting claim on that, so I wouldn't be surprised, with all due respect. But one of those times, you got to sit there and think on what they are doing. So it's one of those times I get very distraught on this particular matter. So looks like I'm getting little technical difficulties here, but I'll be right back. Okay, cool. I got it back. It's all good. So we're going to check on this one area. I'll just do the summarized version. Looks like they've got some redacted information here pertaining to the Thailand Black site. And just like it says here, document 16, if unknown if Gina Haspel was still the chief of base of detention site, Green, in Thailand on December 1st, 2002. But whoever was in charge and authorizes cable back to CIA Alex Station, the report marked a descent into language right out of the spy novels, or the Shades of Grey series describes the potentially criminal behavior by CIA employees. HVTI, redacted, either Mitchell or Jessen, and linguist redacted strolled cat-like into the well-lit confines of the cell at 092 hours. The redacted definitely removed the subject's black hoods with the swipe. So all that's in there. So I'm just going to keep on going down here. Let's give you a little more summary brief so you can see this for yourself. Very interesting indeed. And they have one here too on the summary. CIA saw a careful summary of Gina Haspel's career, leaving out her short-term posts, including her command of the Thailand black site was torture. So you can see that for yourselves. And here you can do the documents are right down here. Torture order of CIA Alex Station to Gina Haspel at Thailand black site. And you can read all that. And of course there's some down here that Gina Haspel's day one of CIA, the torture of Nashri CIA cable 11246. So there's some documents down here. You can really look for this for yourselves. I gotta say is wow, a lot of it's redacted, so please be patient. But the main objective that these torturing, waterboarding does exist. So one of those areas you have to look at the main idea, and which I'm totally against. And I know Jesse Ventura was a Navy SEAL. He talked about his guys went to waterboarding too, and they're like I said, they're better off being dead. So when people talk about waterboarding is good, it gets gives people information, and in reality is not as really as accurate. So I like to see people like her, Nikki Haley, and even what's his name, Dick the Prick Cheney. I can see them get waterboarded. Let's see how tough these people are. They love to talk the big game, but they don't want to get their hands dirty. Okay, it's many of them they made palmologists in these areas. I don't really know Miss Gina Haspel herself, but this is not one of the things I can say. It's very disturbing because it can be used on anyone in the name of the war on terror. Like I said before, the war on terror is a conflagration with ourselves. I've been dressing that for almost over 16 years now. When George Walker Bush announced the war on terror, because this is one of those things you got to look at. So yeah, definitely read this, examine it, share it to everyone you know. It is unbelievable. Of course, right here too, document 12, Gina Haspel report to CIA on the first waterboarding in Nashri, day 12. Subject eyes only of details. So, a lot of stuff here, and of course, second waterboarding torture session with Nashri. And of course, again, the Thailand black site reported CIA had 2 torture sessions with Nashri. Alright, so we can just go on and on. Day 16, the Alex Station. So it looks like he's been hopping around here. Thailand black site report. The CIA Alex Station on day 16 Nashri torture. So we can just, and cat-like torture too. So there's a lot of stuff in here. Find it very disturbing. So please, folks, read these things. I'm going to do a lot of reading as well on this. And one thing I got to say is unbelievable. But we picked her in as the head security of CIA, head of the CIA. Hallelujah. Yes, God bless tyranny. Waterboard is patriotic. If you criticize it, you can be called a traitor or the enemy of the state. All right. Well, next one here came from The Verdict, and it's by Sherry F. Kolb. a law in Austria that would force Jews and Muslims to register for meat. Can we say Orwellian indeed? International law, of course, is posted under. The far-right Freedom Party in Austria recently proposed a controversial law, the law that would have regulated the consumption of kosher and halal meat in Lower Austria. One of 9 states in the country, Austria, proposed a law on its face targeted religious Jews and Muslims. Only they, by contrast to all other meat consumers who have to register for a privilege, receive limited quantity or of their desired commodity and prove that they live in Lower Austria. Austria has reportedly rejected the proposed law. In this column, I will consider why even a vegan like myself regards the introduction of such a legal regime as an alarming development. Yeah, even those folks who are plant-based should pay attention to this too. I first learned about the proposed law while spending, i.e. wasting time on Facebook. One of my many vegan Facebook friends, whom I don't know, IRL, as the kids say, posted something about the draft legislation. This person praised the proposed law, and she suggested that the worst offenders against animals should have to be registered and become pariahs. I believe that she compared legislation in the question to sex offenders registry. Somewhat incongruously, she appears to be an Israeli citizen. Wow, we should say Adolf Hitler would be proud of her rhetoric. Proponents of the Lower Austrian bill argue that it would have promote the welfare of animals. If it did that, then what would have to decide in elevating it, rather to prioritize concerns about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, or whether to prioritize concerns about animal protection for good or ill, though this proposal did not require anyone to make choices about priorities because it promoted only one objective, as we shall see below. The difference between kosher and halal meat and the other meat is that kosher and halal are subject to various special requirements. The relevant requirement for our purpose holds that when slaughtering an animal, slaughterers must, according to Judaism and the interpretation of Islam, make sure that each animal is conscious at the time that they cut her throat. In Austria, a member of the European Union, law requires slaughterers to stun each animal before slaughtering them, and with the presumed goal of reducing the animal's suffering. Religious Jews and Muslims can typically perform their religious methods of the slaughter by exemption from the rule requiring pre-slaughter stunning. And it's interesting because if you look at one moment, train is coming by. Cool. All right, so we'll continue here. I was going to say about the whole, if you study Judaism and Islam, when it comes to slaughtering the lamb for the food, they have these basic guidelines. It is very similar because it came from, the sons of Abraham, or the very Abrahamic perspective. So you should always do your homework in these areas. Pretty cool stuff. So don't just rely on the idiotube. All right, we could proceed here. First is priors. As some readers may know, I became a vegan over a decade ago. Because I came to realize that slaughtering animals, along with other cruelties we inflict on our fellow earthlings, represent a violent atrocity against innocent, sentient beings who are essential, morally relevant captivities with members of our own species. I'm also Jewish and was observant throughout my childhood. My parents were Holocaust survivors. My father conducted an underground rescue operation that saved the lives for over 1,000 fellow Jews, including my mother. The Nazis murdered my 4 grandparents, my 5 uncles, and my 2 aunts. I mention these facts about my background because they bear on my view of the proposed Lower Austrian law, even as they simultaneously inform my thinking on question of animal welfare, anti-Semitism, and Austria, the land of Hitler's birth, and following at Chulis with Nazi Germany, an important participant in the project of exterminating Europe's Jews. Very interesting indeed. It was a fact. Austria-Hungary, to be exact. April 20th, 1889. Yeah, so part Hungarian myself, so I could throw that in there. Animal welfare. One might reasonably think that stunning that an animal before slaughtering her is, in the context, a mercy, one that's important enough to require across the board. In the United States, would mean that the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act, which requires studying large mammals prior to slaughter, would apply without exceptions. So Jews and Muslims really have religious right to inflict more suffering on animals because their religious require it? Must we exempt this pious from other laws against animal cruelty as well? Should devout be people able to kick a dog or drown a cat if their faiths require that? The short answer is that the stunning requirement delivers less than it promises. First of all, that in the U.S., the federal law requires stunning before slaughtering has already had a numerous exemption written right into it for all birds, including chickens, many more of whom become corpses at the slaughterhouse than any other land animal, ducks, geese, doves, and others, and an exemption for all aquatic species. The Humane Methods of Slaughter Act thus fails to protect the overwhelming majority of animals whom we kill in this country. Second, and relevant to any place where consumers demand a large quantity of meat, a combination of kill line speeds and the lack of extensive training for slaughterhouse workers, witnessed in detail in such books as Slaughterhouse by Gail Inzenis, and more recently, Every 12 Seconds by Timothy Pytre, means that animals who theoretically benefit from being stunned before having their throat cut are in fact fully conscious when stabbed in the throat or chest. The animal might therefore be writhing in pain, eyes wide of terror, drooling, hanging upside down, suspended by one leg. An animal might endure repeated failed attempts to stun him. Attempts that themselves are terrifying and painful, whether they involve a captive bolt gun aimed at a forehead, an electric shock, or poison gas. The unluckiest of all remain conscious even with their throat are cut, after they might choke on their own blood, burn in a scalding tank, or experience being skinned alive. I don't know the fact that slaughter in Austria is as horrific as in the United States, but I have little reason to think that it is much better there. If I'm right, then virtually every animal who undergoes slaughter will suffer unspeakable pain, terror, and possibly of torture as well. The legal requirements of stunning does not effectively protect animals from that, and stunning can be unreliable. In this context, views that allow Jews and Muslims to vary the process somewhat seems arbitrary. It's like someone doing a birthday here. One moment. All right, you got one of the people here wishing a happy birthday. Hey! You don't know what to expect. I'm doing a podcast. I think it's pretty cool anyway. Okay. This is especially so given the religious requirement for very sharp knives on the animal's throat, and thus avoiding the least torture than inflict a stunned animal at the very end. There is even more basic reason to question proponents claim that the proposed lower Austrian law would not promote animal welfare. The law would not even refuse Jews and Muslims their meat in the end. It would simply have required to those who wanted the meat to register as religious Jews and Muslims and to sell for somewhat less meat than they might have liked to have. If we assume that Jews and Muslims are the worst animal abusers, as my Facebook friend contended, then it seemed very strange for the law to permit them to continue their animal abuse as long as they registered for the privilege. We would similarly require sex offenders to register for child molestation and allow them to continue their sexual assaults? That's a very good question. I like that a lot. Of course not, because we actually care about protecting children from molestation. By contrast, we don't seem to care very much about protecting animals from the cruelty that over 150 million of them confront each day that slaughterhouses remain open. Veganism. I do want to say something about a question that some vegans might have. Why they might wonder wouldn't religious Jews and Muslims simply have become vegans if the law had passed, rather than subjecting themselves to a transparently racist regime of registration and rations. I agree with one part of the question's premise. Everyone could benefit from becoming a vegan, and everyone includes observant Jews and Muslims. The Jewish Vegan and the Muslim Vegan Initiative highlight to the extent to which Jews and Islamic values are not only consistent but with positive support of veganism. It is still crucial for vegans to recognize as a matter of justice that Jews and Muslims are entitled to be free of laws that targets them for their religious identities, and a proposed Austrian law plainly did exactly that, though it may have seemed neutral on its face, singling out one cruel form of slaughter over all others, couple of requiring kosher and halal meat, consumers register as such. Make the targeting clear. That is enough good reason to oppose the law, notwithstanding the fact that becoming vegan could have helped people escape from the clutches of the legislation it had passed it. Sadly, the far right lower Austrians and religious Jews and Muslims all appear to share one assumption, that one must eat meat products in general and meat in particular to thrive. Proponents of the law anticipated that they could catch the Jews and Muslims by requiring registration as a condition for meat access, and the targets of the laws felt that they would have been compelled to register if the law had passed. It did not appear to occur to either group that the law's targets could have been the law irrelevant to them and by becoming vegan. The blind spot makes the echoes of Europe's darkest hour relevant for another, admittedly odd, reason. It turns out, in addition to the coming war crimes and genocide, the Nazis inadvertently improved the diet of some of the people in the countries they occupy, considered a natural experiment in heart disease control. After invading and occupying Norway, the Nazis seized the farm animals and their livestock and removed them from the country, presuming to feed Germans. During this 6-year period, when the people of Norway were cooking and eating drastically less animal-derived food than they had been before, the number of deaths due to either to heart attack or stroke in Norway plummeted. It is hard to imagine with other concomitants of Nazi occupation might have been responsible for this charge. Did the people far less stressed under occupation? Did they avoid carbs? Did they all join the gym? When the war ended and the consumption of animals and their sections resumed, the rates of heart disease deaths rapidly returned to their pre-war levels. This is all say, one can sometimes make lemonade out of the bitterness of lemons, yet we still must review the lemons with clear eyes and an understanding of what they mean. It is in the spirit why we can understand that supposedly animal welfare motivated proposed law that would have required Jews and Muslims to register for their meat. The proposal reflected hatred of the sort, through less extreme than that which characterized Nazi marches that ended in murder and lynch mobs that tortured and killed innocents. And thus it needed to be stopped without condition as it was. It was never a pro-animal proposal in the first place. To suggest, as some have, that Nazis cared about the well-being of animals as they did or not, or Hitler that was a vegetarian, he was not, or that Austria's far-right party was trying to reduce the misery of animals is a sort of libel against the animal rights movement, suggesting it as it does, there is something deeply coherent about a racist or genocidal person or a group extending their circle of compassion to include non-human animals. People do sometimes believe what they want to believe, what sounds right to them, but we must be on guard for that human tendency. Very interesting indeed, because it does consider a bias or discrimination of someone's creed. So if you do that to them, who's going to be next? So it's focusing more on the domino effect. And I have some colleagues I do care about. Were very good friends of mine. People are considered plant-based, and I take the time to read these things too to try to better myself as well. And yes, I do eat meat once in a while. I do that, but I don't have to be a big fanatic over it. However, I like to eat other vegan, like other vegetables and potatoes and greens and so forth, and keep my body moving. But there's so much processed garbage out there, it's insane. Fast food restaurants, to me, are wants, not needs. And that's a good habit, because I haven't really gone to a big fast food restaurant in years. I say once in a blue moon, if I do, I just keep everything limited. But the truth of the matter is, if you do these registrations, look what happened, like, of course, occupied Nazi Germany. They can do the same thing what happened with the Ottoman Turks, etc. It's very treacherous, my friends. It's a form of a witch hunt tactic. So I'm glad she put this out here. She's spot on. You cannot use this categorize one group and people, oh yeah, such a great idea, and not looking at the bigger picture. Ooh, okay, well, next one here. This got this from RT, Russia Today. I'm not a big fanatic, but sometimes they got some good stuff in there. This here, Rothschild worried about New World Economic Order. This is, and it says it reads here. It came out yesterday. Jacob Rothschild has voiced concern about a global financial system that was established after World War II. The billionaire banker points to the U.S.-China trade war and Eurozone crisis as the key problems putting the economic order at risk. In 9/11 and in the 2008 financial crisis, the powers of the world worked together with a common approach. Cooperation today is proving much more difficult. That puts the risk in the post-war economic and security order. Rothschild warned in his investment trust half-year results commentary. In economics, the post-war order usually refers to a monetary management system, which led to a rise of the U.S. dollar as a dominant currency. In the circumstances, our policy is to maintain our limited exposure to quoted equities and to enter into our commitments with great caution, Rothschild added. Rothschild capital investment has a historically low 47% exposure to the stock market. The banking dynasty is concerned that a 10-year stock market rally could be ending. The cycle is in its 10th positive year, the longest on record. We are now seeing some areas of weaker growth emerge. Indeed, the IMF had recently predicted some slowdown, the investment banker said. Rothschild pointed at potentially destructive debt levels in Europe and trade wars as a major problem for the global economy. He added problems are likely to continue in emerging markets compounded by rising interest rates and the U.S. Fed's monetary policy, which has drained global dollar liquidity. According to Rothschild, the lack of a coordinated international response to global challenges was unlikely an era of populist and protectionist leaders, such as U.S. President Donald Trump. Ooh, interesting indeed. Well, you know what? I don't care about your New World Economic Order, you old bag of you-know-what. And to be very frank, they're part of the One World Order, and they want us to be their peasants. And you know what? I think it's great. Yeah, we'll get some full effect on it, but you know what? The whole global agenda is nothing more than a facade, such as Agenda 21. And hey, I think it's great. Let them worry, okay? Because one thing about this guy and many others, they love these little war games that's happening. These big conflicts happening around the world because many of these people benefit from it. So good. I'm glad that he's worried. Hopefully it's for real too, because as far as I'm concerned, he's an enemy of the people worldwide. Ooh, okay. So do like one more here. All right, and this one's from News Reviews. And I'm going to continue on for a moment, so I'll be back. All right, I'm going to continue on here. Like before, 9/11, The Key to Restore Freedom in America is by Servando Gonzalez. I like this quote here. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend you to the death. Your right to say it. Beatrice Evelyn Hall. Absolutely. Today, America is a highly divided country. It seems that suddenly we strongly disagree about everything, even the most simple, mundane thing. From opponents who at least were able to discuss our opinions in an amicable, civilized way, we have changed into fierce enemies incapable of understanding, much less accepting other people's divergent points of view. Things that divide us most, however, is not that some of us are Democrats and others are Republicans. Not even that some of us are conservatives and some are progressives. The current attack by coercive, sorry about that. Corsive Utopians at Google, YouTube, Facebook, Apple, Pinterest, Spotify, Twitter, Audio Boom, Discuss, and 3 others on the freedom of expression of Alex Jones, who is repeatedly described as a conspiracy theorist who thinks 9/11 was an inside job, and also Pastor James David Manning, a strong critic of Obama and the New World Order, are based on allegations of hate speech. But hate speech is a tag the progressive left have also attached to President Trump in the San Francisco Bay Area, and Stop the Hate posted on the door of a home or business actually means we hate Trump. It doesn't matter if you like the man or not, but I think what's happening here is it's totally mind control. That's what this person is addressing right now. It's difficult, however, to understand why the same people who never raised an eyebrow after seeing so-called comedian displaying a papier-mâché representation of President Trump's deprecated head, who have published dozens of caricatures depicting President Trump assassinated. A recent cover for New Yorker magazine showed a dead Trump after failing off an escalator, or having encouraged people to see a play where Trump is assassinated. Now claim that they are against all manifestations of hate. It's obvious that, to these people, hate is anything that goes against their convictions, ideas, and beliefs about subjects such as global warming, evolution, abortion, sexuality, immigration, foreign possession, or the New World Order. Even the more important, who is telling the self-proclaimed censors what hate is and what is not. Well, according to the censor's twisted logic, the most likely arbiter would be the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of the most subversive institutions in today's America, to function not only to use the law to keep Southern people in poverty, but lead attacks on people who oppose the New World Order. Absolutely. Hi, I'm David Dees. When it comes to the New World Order, I will belly up. They say bend over. I go, how far, please? Exactly. Hi, I'm David Dees. Let's all get along in a New World Order fashion. In my humble opinion, however, what divides us the most is our vision of the 9/11 events. 9/11 events make a turning point in the course of this nation. 9/11 was a pretext used by our government to declare the so-called war on terror was justified unnecessary military conflicts abroad, as well as pushing down our throats as an arbitration called the Department of Homeland Security, a veritable Gestapo. It opens the gates to create other aberrations such as the Transportation Security Administration, the militarization of the police, and the current surveillance state. Eventually, the DHS evolved in a sort of national police, something most Americans had previously opposed. Currently, as a direct result of 9/11, America resembles more Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union than the representative republic or of our founding fathers created. The recent attacks on the First Amendment rights of Alex Jones, mostly centered on his interpretation of the 9/11 events, mark a dangerous trend. If this is not stopped soon, after all internet sites, books, and videos analyzing 9/11 from a different perspective than one offered by the U.S. government will be taken out of circulation and eventually banned. From this point on, it will be a short step to consider as a crime in the possession of any such item. This is currently happening in communist China and fascist Cuba. Yeah, I can say Cuba because they do talk about freedom of expression and the social society. And if you use certain forms considered a threat to them, even if you criticize them, you can go to jail. Read the Cuban Constitution. Self-explanatory in those areas. Nevertheless, the globalist conspirators' vicious attack on Alex Jones are a clear sign that he is right on most of his criticism of the New World Order. That's why they fear him so much. To restore some rationality to the current madness that has grabbed the land, it is necessary, actually vital, to open a thorough, impartial investigation of the 9/11 events. I didn't use the word open because the 9/11 events were never investigated. More Americans, as well as the globalist controlled mainstream media, accepted without reservations the explanations offered by the U.S. government, and that was the end of it. Evidence show, however, that the government never carried out an investigation. On the contrary, the U.S. government played a key role in avoiding an investigation. Hundreds of videos still available on the web show people from government agencies diligently working hard to destroy the evidence at the scene of the crime in Manhattan, the Pentagon, and the crash of Flight 93 in Pennsylvania. Fortunately, thanks to the advances in recording technology, there is visual evidence that many things in the official narrative don't add up. The 9/11 events are without doubt the greatest failure of our government, our intelligence agency, and our military. For those services, we pay billions of dollars annually to prevent such events. Surprisingly, nobody was reprimanded, much less fired as a result of such gross incompetence. We need to find out why this happened. Only a true investigation will put to rest this divisive event. But a full, independent, impartial, reliable commission conduct it. We don't need another Warren Commission. Current events are showing the high degree of corruption, the lack of professionalism affecting organizations such as the FBI, the CIA, and the Department of Justice. Consequently, traitors, CFR members must be banned from participating in such investigation. There are some already existing organizations such as Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, whose members must be part of this investigation. As a result of this investigation, it is found that the 9/11 was actually an inside job carried out by people at the highest level of the U.S. government. The culprits must pay for their crimes, and all organizations create the result of 9/11 must be disbanded. This will mark once and for all the end of the globalist conspirators' war on terror. What we are seeing now is just an attack, not just an attack on Alex Jones. It is an attack on the internet, the only medium of communication the globalist conspirators have not been able to control. So it seems that they would prefer to destroy the internet than allow us to fight their totalitarian New World Order. We need to restore the First Amendment to the Constitution. The current attack on our freedom of expression carried out by our domestic enemies is 1,000 times worse than any attack our foreign enemies can conceive. These attacks are real and present danger to the American Republic. We need to stop the perpetrators by any means necessary. So if you want to stop the current witch hunt, please write to your congressman, senator, and President Trump asking them to stop the attacks on the First Amendment and create a truly independent commission to investigate what really happened on September 11th, 2001. And I got to give Mr. Gonzalez some homage, because that person knows exactly what he's talking about. Because a person, even an individual like myself, questioned it immediately. I am not afraid to say 9/11 was a New World Order agenda. I've been saying this since September 14th, 2001, in a different point of view. But the one thing I know, I did put that signature on my email address for a good 5 years. Some folks questioned, and they later on said thank you, because they took the time to do their homework. You got to plant those seeds, my friend. Don't give up. People are learning the bigger picture. I've been chatting with a lot of folks out here on it. And a person like myself, I won't even use inside job. I believe there's a New World Order agenda and criminal elements from multiple governments, the United States, Great Britain, Saudi Arabia, and Israel's Mossad. They're all part of it. But it could be more too. That's what we call it, the One World Order agenda, New World Order agenda. And even some of my brothers, both my brothers thought I was nuts. Not anymore. And so that's why, my friends, we got to really focus on this. And I remember that time too when a horrific event happened. I just questioned it immediately. One of my co-workers called me up and asked. He was from New York, and I told him. He told me that Osama bin Laden, he's a dead man. And I just let him know point blank from this day forward, because during that time he had a 1-year-old daughter, and addressed to him, whatever you do, pay attention. It's not the terrorists we should be concerned of, but criminal elements within our own government. And I had a little powwow discussion about that. And one moment here. All right, cool. This the train's coming by, but I had a little chat about it, because I remember you saying that. So he thanked me, and that's the way to do it, my friends. You gotta put the truth out. This is not the 1960s anymore. They want us to live in fear. Like I told people, the two biggest mistakes those sons of bitches made in the new millennium were 9/11 and the murder of William Cooper. Like I said, I didn't stutter when I made those comments. Do what's right, spread the truth. People really need to unite because there's bigger fish to fry. Not the distracted garbage you see from Black Lives Matter, the alt-right, and all that. I'm not saying all these people are bad, but it's a major distraction. It's old stuff. They want a certain group of people to be talked down, be degenerate. And it's been happening, nothing new at all, and people still falling for it. Talk about herd conformity, Jim Jones syndrome. What I'm going to be doing too, before I go, I'm going to add a link on here by the Unite the Right. Jason Kessler did an interview. It was going to have an event on September 12th, this Sunday, at Washington D.C. He sees how the white Europeans are being deprived, being treated like garbage, and like they could say whatever they want about one group, but they can't speak their minds. And it's like I said, it's nothing new. It's this mother mind control fiasco. But Jason Keller is spot on, especially with Charlottesville. Like I said in my last show, it's blood's on the hands of the government of Charlottesville, Virginia, and the Commonwealth, the government themselves. People better really look at this. At least I take the time to do it. Examine even a lot of the journalists from the L.A. Times saying what the hell is going on. So it's not just some left-right paradigm. It was social engineering at its finest. I mean, I call it a possible Gladio B-style attack. I wouldn't be surprised at all. It was doomed to fail. So check out his interview. It was on American Free Press. So I'm going to add that to the link. It came out a few days ago. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you send me something that's interesting, man, I want to check out. Whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. You get me at all these social media sites. Just look me up on search engine it. Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, all that good stuff. In addition, you can email me at lookandluck3@gmail.com, or to encrypted ones that have a ProtonMail account. I'll be better. Lookandluck numbers 03@protonmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.